growing up, I had a wonderful family, working middle class family. But early on, there was some events in my childhood. Father had, he took his own life when I was 3. And there was some other events that took place. And I always knew that God existed. But my thoughts towards God was that if you allowed these things to happen, I don't want any part of you. God, you exist. He's up there. He's just keeping track and keeping score and waiting for me to do something wrong. That began a genesis of an addiction to alcohol. And when I discovered alcohol at a very young age, at that time, I believed that it filled that void temporarily, that I was feeling the anxieties, the fears.
When did you begin drinking?
I was 10 years old. I guess the best way you can describe it is an overcorrection, if you will. So my view of God is I have to be perfect. Like I have to do everything right. It pushed me into academics and excelling at school and things. Mm-hmm. And by chance or accident, whatever it was that when I came in contact with alcohol and when I drank it, I got a feeling. And that feeling that I got, it wasn't a buzz or an intoxication, but it was in that moment, the substance itself seemingly took away all that. It filled that emptiness.
It was a relief.
It was a relief. It was a great relief. And I remember even in a young mind that I was like, I got to do this as often as I can do this, or whenever I can. This is my out. If I start to get to those things cropping back up again, or where I don't want to deal, I can't quite figure certain things out, that I need to go back to that.
So maybe some adults are out there that thinking in an adult way, like, oh yeah, I got some relief, but to have that relief, in that way, it captures you.
Yeah, it did. And it left a mark for a long time. And we're not going to get into the biblical stance. Should you drink? Should you not drink? But I know for myself and the men and women I've ministered to, there's a turning point that we take when we start to head down that road where you get to a point of no return, that we can't safely depend on a substance, a chemical, whatever that is. It just totally changes that trajectory that I could never safely do that again. It came down to a point of reckoning and intervention between my family. Had enough. They're done. Well, I came to one morning in my own home, and my whole family's in my living room, basically like, this is it, we're done. That started the countdown towards walking through the doors of Adult and Teen Challenge. I'd heard about the program through the girl who's now my wife. She had shared that, like, you need help, you need to try this. It's a Christ-centered program. Certainly when I first heard of Adult and Teen Challenge, and I thought I still had better options available to me. The turning point, I went from balking at this decision to go, one day I mixed the Xanax with alcohol. I would hide and sneak, and you talk about blackouts. I don't remember any of it. I woke up in a holding cell. My last memory I had was walking into the state store that morning, and then I'm coming to in a holding cell. And at that point I was like, oh my. I had gone with her to an appointment up there, and true to my nature at that time, I made an excuse to disappear. I had mapped out where the liquor store was. I knew right where it was. The goal was to sneak out while she was in her appointment. Nobody would know the difference. And next thing I'm waking up in a holding cell. And that was the turning point where I went from, I don't need Adult and Teen Challenge, where like I desperately was calling them every day, please, I need help. I need a bed. I had two choices. One was to walk through the doors of Adult and Teen Challenge. The other was the street, to be literally homeless. And I knew that path. I knew where that would lead. I was there 4 months, and that's kind of like your boot camp. Every material thing, cell phones and television, internet, things like that I was addicted to as well. Those are removed. Walk through Teen Challenge doesn't mean everything got better. I mean, I still had a wreckage of a past and things I had to deal with, or I knew I was going to have to deal with at some point. I would start praying, and I read lots of Max Lucado. My wife's a librarian, so I'd get a book a week in the mail, and I would start to expand my prayers and like kind of put God to the test on different things. And when I really stopped and he took away all that external stimulus, all those distractions, you'd be surprised how much God's talking to you, or where you can see him, or where you can find him showing up. And those were the little bits, and I can go a little further on this journey until you hit a point where, okay. I remember arguing with one of the counselors. He was teaching a class. We were going through the book of Ezekiel, which can be some doom and gloom stuff if you're not careful. All I heard was there was no hope. If there's no hope, then what's the point of me even being here? And he's like, well, you're absolutely correct. There is no hope. I thought I had him. And then he paused and he said, there's no hope apart from Jesus Christ. It just shut my mouth. I couldn't argue against that. And those were little things, little moments that God would just give me little glimpses that, that he was for me, that he's in control, that he's numbering my steps. And that's how I got through, the 14-month program. I had the mentors and the discipleship and the help of those men to walk me through there. And I have the privilege, God allows me to step into some lives today and speak life from that. I believe that no one of us is any further ahead or behind than the other. We all have our unique journeys and struggles and challenges, but we're made for community and unity. When we're heading in the wrong direction, the first thing that we want to leave behind is that community, those who can look us in the eye and say, how you doing today? Or you look like you're having a rough day, or just sitting down and reorienting.
They can seem like ordinary things, and in this testimony, it's obvious how they're miraculous.